Richard, thank you so much for joining us. So much to talk about when it comes to Iran and its nuclear program, which you are a foremost expert on. But hey, let's start on the recent death of Iran's top nuclear scientist, the man called the father of the Iranian bomb, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, gunned down in the streets of Iran recently. How big was his death? What are the implications of it?
Well, it's a big deal on multiple levels. First, for the nuclear program. As you said, this is the father of their nuclear weapons program, what we call the Ahmad plan. We don't know much about how it ended, how it was suspended, what activities have continued all the way from the 2000s to today. But we do know that this is the person who has been at the top of the pyramid. He has continued to lead a secret military organization that employs nuclear weapons scientists. And without him, and also remember, the Israelis also took out that big secret nuclear weapons archive out of Iran back in 2018. There is a big brain drain going on for their nuclear weapons program. And also a big question to ask, how did this happen? This is a tightly controlled, repressive regime with a huge security apparatus. The fact that this man at the top of their nuclear weapons program could be assassinated inside Iran is a big, big deal and shows that there's a lot of decay going on inside the Iranian government.
Yeah, Richard, that's a great point. What a black eye for the regime. And you think about 2020, started with the death of the terror kingpin, Qasem Soleimani. Now Fakhrizadeh is taken out. Very interesting. How is Iran violating that Iranian nuclear deal, which was originally signed in 2015? The United States pulled out of it in 2018. Can you tell us how they are blatantly violating that deal?
You're right. The Iranians are violating that nuclear deal. And the truth is they've been violating it from day one. What's in the news today that we see are the most obvious signals. That is all this enrichment you hear about, the production of fissile material that, if enriched further, could be used to build nuclear weapons. But we also have the more fundamental violations, the mistrust, the deceit coming out of Iran. The International Atomic Energy Agency is now telling us they have evidence that Iran has been hiding undeclared nuclear sites, activities, and materials from day one of this nuclear agreement. And Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, who we just talked about, was on top of that food pyramid of what could be some ongoing secret nuclear weapons related work. So yes, they're violating the deal. They're not just violating the deal because of Donald Trump or because of sanctions. They've been violating the deal since day one of the deal.
What is the world doing? We know the United States under President Trump obviously pulled out of that Iran nuclear deal in 2018. What about the world, the international community, Europe, Russia, China? Are they doing anything to hold the Iranian regime accountable for these clear violations of that nuclear deal?
They are not, unfortunately. The Iran nuclear deal at its core was sort of an extortion racket where you have this thug regime, think of the mob that's involved in all kinds of malign activities, illicit conduct, terrorism, and missiles, and militias, and all kinds of things, plus this nuclear program. And they scare you with the nuclear program. You know, we could make a nuclear bomb. We, this terror-responsive regime, could have a nuclear weapon. You better give us money. And unfortunately, that sort of racket works in Europe and with many in Washington. And that's what the nuclear deal is. You pay them to slow down on enrichment, but that money goes to feed terrorism and missiles.
Richard, we know that Iran is marching across the Middle East right now. It's not only on its own, but through proxy like Hezbollah, Hamas. We know they are committed to destroying the state of Israel. But why should every American watching right now be concerned about this Iranian regime and that nuclear program? I think sometimes here in the States we have a tendency to say, well, that's far away, thousands of miles away. It's a problem for Israel and for Saudi Arabia, but not for us. You mentioned ballistic missiles a bit earlier. Why should Americans care about this Iranian nuclear threat?
Well, let's always keep in mind that there are two Satans, according to the Islamic Republic of Iran, a little Satan and a big Satan. Israel is the little Satan. Guess who the big Satan is? The United States of America. They have been at war with us in the way that they wage a war for 40 years. That has not stopped since the founding of the Islamic Republic. If you know somebody who lost a loved one in Iraq, they probably died at the hands of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Iranian paramilitary terror organization that planted bombs throughout Iraq to kill American soldiers. They are preparing, as you just talked about, ballistic missiles and cruise missiles that could hit U.S. bases, U.S. forces. We've seen U.S. personnel killed in Iraq over the last year and a half. And of course, they could wipe out our allies, starting with the Jewish state of Israel. So this is a threat to the United States at its core. Israel is the canary in the coal mine. And if we don't answer the call when she is threatened, obviously we're next.
Yeah, and Richard, you played such a key role in countering this Iranian threat. Thank you for your excellent work there and at FDD, and excellent information today. You made it very easy to understand, Richard. Thanks. We'll see you again soon.